news.
All right, we are staying on top of breaking news. There's a manhunt that's been going on for the Berlin Christmas market attack suspect. It has ended with a shootout near Milan in Italy. Investigators say Anis Amri pulled a gun when asked for information and opened fire, hit a police officer, we are told, and then the officers shot and killed the suspect. CNN foreign correspondent Ben Wiedemann joins us live in Rome with what we've learned. This is part, Italian authorities say, of a broader investigation. We are thinking at this point that involves who did he know in Italy, where he had been in jail for some time, how did he get there, and who else may have been involved. What are you learning on the ground, Ben?
Well, we're getting more details about what exactly happened at around 3 o'clock in the morning in this suburb, this working-class suburb of Milan. Now, we understand from the head of the police in Milan that this was an ordinary, routine, just check for papers outside this train station. Now, when they thought he was reaching for his ID or his passport, he pulled out a .22 caliber pistol, opened fire, shooting one of the police officers in the shoulder. Then he ran behind a car, continued to fire on the Italian police officers there, but one of the officers managed to get behind the car, shot Amri twice, once fatally in the chest. Now, they say that they found on his body not only the gun itself, they also found a small knife as well as several €100, which at the current exchange rate is several $100. Now, the Italian police stress at this point that when he was stopped by this police patrol, he was by himself. But the question is, what was he doing in this suburb of Milan? Because he took this train from Germany through France to Turin and then to the central train station in Milan and then to this suburb, Sesto San Giovanni, which is a working-class neighborhood. They want to know why he specifically went there, but at this point, they're not saying what they think.
That's right. There's still so many questions. Ben, I'll take it. Thank you very much for your reporting. We have more breaking news to follow. This one out of Malta. There is a hijacked plane sitting on the tarmac there with 111 people on board. Let's bring in CNN foreign correspondent Ian Lee. What have you learned, Ian?
Well, Allison, right now they're trying to figure out what are the demands of the people who hijacked this plane. As you said, 111 passengers on board. There's 82 males, 28 females, and 1 infant, according to the Prime Minister of Malta. This was an internal Libyan flight going from Sabah in the south of the country to Tripoli, the capital in the north, when the hijackers took it. Now, we're hearing from Reuters that the pilots wanted to land the plane in Libya. The hijackers refused, and the plane was diverted to Malta in an Airbus A320 Africa airplane. Right now, on the tarmac, there is security forces there trying to determine the best way to move forward. Obviously, we're hearing from politicians from Malta saying that they hope this ends peacefully. That is the main goal right now, but they want to figure out what these hijackers want. And I think it's important to point out that these are people who have demands, who want to use them to get what they need. This is not what we've seen in the past, where you have terrorist acts where people are just trying to commit mass casualties. So that is what these officials right now in Malta are trying to determine what these people want so it can end peacefully.
Ian, thank you very much. Please stay on that situation. Come to us whenever there are developments. We'll watch it throughout the morning. All right, big story back here at home. It's a video that has gone viral, and for good reason. A mother calls 911, says that the neighbor just assaulted her 7-year-old boy. The boy, why? Well, supposedly the neighbor was upset about the kid littering on his lawn. The officer gets there, talks to the neighbor, goes to talk to the mom, winds up arresting her. Here's what happened next.
You ask me, why don't I teach him? You don't know what I teach him. And you don't, whatever you teach your kids don't mean that they go by your rules when they're not in your sight. Because you just piss me off telling me what I teach my kids and what I don't.
If you keep yelling at me, you piss me off. I'm going to come to jail.
Okay, you're not, okay? They don't shoot that. We are on live. Don't grab her. Don't grab her.
All right. right, obviously somebody there was with a cell phone video. The mother and 2 of her daughters were all taken into custody, have since been released from the jail. Let's bring in retired NYPD Chief of the Department, Philip Banks.
Yes, good morning.
Chief Banks, good to see you. We hear the officer is on administrative leave, Internal Affairs is investigating. What is your reaction to the video?
When I first saw the video, I mean, shocking, disgusting, disgraceful, deplorable. I mean, I can go on and on. Police officers, when they respond to the scene, they are trained at our core to de-escalate a situation. You're expected to go to situations where tensions are going to be very high.
So what's he not doing right, Chief?
He escalated it. I mean, I thought the situation was under control. I thought the mother was articulating the reason why she was calling. I think that he brought a partisan mindset and an attitude to this particular scene, and he took a routine assignment and he completely escalated that situation.
Does training involve, in this type of allegation situation, especially where a kid's involved, questioning why the kid wound up in that situation?
I have never heard of a situation where you would challenge a parent about why don't you teach your children not to litter or some of the sort. None whatsoever. It doesn't happen in New York. I doubt very seriously if it happens in Texas as well. So no, not at all.
Now, one of the important things is you don't judge all by some. That happens a lot in policing situations. Right. What is your word about what needs to be done here to enforce the proper police procedure and also to deal with the community policing aspect?
See, what happens is that the leaders in law enforcement has to understand one thing. When you have situations like that, what goes through the mind of the community is that what were the actions that took place prior to this? Because this officer was in many situations before, and the attitude that he brought and his whole demeanor and his whole actions, this was not the first time that he did it. So the question becomes, what was done before and what check and balance systems are in place to determine and detect that type of attitude? We have these predictive policings, we have these broken windows type of theory, all types of methods to determine crime before it happens, before it escalates. And I think we need to take some of those models and put it into actually policing our own. And not only the 7-year-old and the mother and the daughter are victims, but the police officers who go out and do their job every single day, they become victims as well because they're lumped in with an officer who certainly did not perform his job.
Do you agree with and think that the department there is doing the right thing in terms of how they're addressing it?
Well, what I'm understanding what they're doing is what I'm reading in the paper, and if that is accurate per se, it looks like they are. But I would just caution them is that people have heard all of the time, we're doing an investigation, wait till the investigation is over, and to a lot of people's minds, that's a code word for saying, give us time so we can find our department as less as fault as possible. So my advice to them, I would do a thorough investigation, but certainly do it as expeditiously as you possibly can.
And that's why we cover these stories. Hopefully the light creates an urgency, and then it comes out the way justice demands. One other quick thing about this is that in this kind of situation, you're going to see black and white, and that's going to trigger something. What is your perspective on that? When people want to judge this situation on the basis of race, what do you say?
You know, that's just the norm that we live in. We live in a racist society, and it's not only germane to law enforcement, it's germane to all industries. But I would say to a lot of individuals, and I may take some water into that, bad policing is bad policing, and bad policing happens to all people, regardless of your color. Do I believe that it happens a lot more to African Americans and Latinos? Absolutely. But bad policing is bad policing, and it certainly has to be rooted out.
All right. Chief, we'll stay on this story. Thank you for perspective. The best to you and your family for Christmas.
Happy holidays to you as well.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, all the talk during the election was about truth. So we post-truth and all that other kind of spin. PolitiFact is going to reveal its picks for the biggest lies of the year. Next.